What about 2-year bills? After the House of Origin deadline, there are always questions about 2-year bills, also known as carryover bills. So, what are they, and when can they be taken up again? These types of measures are actually set forth in the California Constitution, Article 4 dealing with the legislature, and Section 10C. 10C reads in part, any bill introduced during the first year of the biennium of the legislative session that has not been passed by the House of Origin by January 31st of the second calendar year of the biennium may no longer be acted on by that House. So, as a result of this constitutional provision, and note that it cannot be waived or suspended, a bill introduced only in the first year of the legislative session, that is the odd numbered year, can be carried over to the second year. However, the constitutional limitation is that the bill has to pass out of its House of Origin by January 31st of the following even numbered year. So, what do the legislature's rules say about 2-year bills? First, Joint Rule 56 defines what most often are called 2-year bills, but it calls them carryover bills. In other words, the term 2-year bill is how these bills are commonly referred to, but it's not the correct legislative terminology. Instead, the proper term is a carryover bill. Joint Rule 56 reads in total, bills introduced in the first year of the regular session and passed by the House of Origin on or before the January 31st constitutional deadline are carryover bills. Immediately after January 31, bills introduced in the first year of the regular session that do not become carryover bills shall be returned to the Chief Clerk of the Assembly or the Secretary of the Senate, respectively. As used in this rule, bills do not include constitutional amendments. So basically, a bill and only a bill, not a constitutional amendment or a resolution, the other two types of legislative measures in California, a bill introduced in the first year of the session becomes a 2-year bill or a carryover bill because it failed to advance through the process by the specified deadlines that could occur in the policy committee deadline, the fiscal committee deadline, or the House of Origin deadline. A bill can become a carryover bill due to the choice of the author or because a committee or the House did not advance the bill to meet one or more deadlines. The deadlines for the legislative session are set forth in the joint rules that are adopted at the commencement of the 2-year session. Joint Rule 61 deals with deadlines, and Joint Rule 61A8 is used in the odd numbered year, the first year of session, for the House of Origin deadline. Now, another common question is whether or not a 2-year bill can be considered later in the first year, or does it have to wait until January of the second year? Well, generally, the answer to that question is no, because Joint Rule 61E says that any bill in the House of Origin that is not acted upon during the odd numbered year as a result of the deadlines imposed in Subdivision A may be acted upon when the legislature reconvenes after the interim study joint recess or at any time the legislature is recalled from the interim study joint recess. However, Joint Rule 61 can be suspended. That's subdivision J, and it says this rule may be suspended as to any particular bill by approval of the Committee on Rules and 2/3 vote of the membership of the House. As a result, if an author wants to have his or her bill considered after the deadlines, then their House's Rules Committee must grant approval after the author's request is made, and then the House must pass the rule suspension by a 2/3 vote. So it is possible to hear a 2-year bill before January of the second year of session, but there's a significant caveat, of course. Moreover, once an author has affirmatively made a bill a carryover bill, it would be a rare instance for that bill to be considered until the following January.